All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome this evening. I'm Jeff Murphy. I'm the Building and Planning Coordinator for the town of Riverhead. Welcome this evening. This is the fourth in the series of topic community meetings for the second round of the comprehensive plan update. Tonight, we're talking about transportation and infrastructure. You're going to be hearing an introduction from Bob White, President of AKRF, and also Ray DeBise of McLean Associates. On Zoom tonight, we have Supervisor Yvette Aguilar and also Councilman Tim Hubbard. So on their behalf, welcome everybody this evening, and let's get right to the presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Bob White.
Okay, thank you, Jeff, and thank you all for coming. Just some quick introductions. So I'm Bob White, Project Manager for the CPU, or Comprehensive Plan Update. Steve Holly is here with AKRF. He's assisting us on the outreach and coordination. Lori Ann is on Zoom. She's our Deputy Project Manager. And we have Vin and Ray. You guys want to just raise your hands and say hi? And thank you all for coming. So as Jeff said, tonight is the fourth in the series, the second round of outreach, where we're going through the current assessment of what we think the recommendations may be as we move forward into this phase of the comprehensive plan update. And the focus is transportation and infrastructure. So just next slide. Just an overview what you're going to see tonight. I'm going to talk a bit about the project status, just give you an update on where we are at. A summary of the issues that we've called out of the outreach, various outreach methods that we've had, an overview of the goals, and then we'll open it up to the floor and the internet for input, and then we'll just quickly go through the next steps after this meeting. So this timeline shows you a bit of where we are at. We began in fall of 2020, and we had a hiatus there with COVID-19 and some of the limitations on outreach. It's really hard to do this in a restricted condition. So we really ramped up the outreach in the fall of 2021, where we were able to hold meetings in person and get your input on the issues before the town, and they were divided into issues by hamlets and issues by topic, and that was that was performed from September to December of last year. What we've sort of produced to date to get to the We Are Here bar is some draft of the hamlets, land use maps, if you will. Current zoning map, we digitized the zoning for the town. We developed an outreach plan, and we continue to maintain an outreach list. We've conducted a public survey that we will touch upon a bit during the presentation, but that was comprised of 3 parts, including survey forms, online survey, written correspondence that was submitted to the town on the website, and a method called social pinpoint, which is a geo-positioning kind of, you could put Post-its electronically, if you will, on a map that give your thoughts on what is important to the planning. And we completed that process at the end of December last year, and then summarized that in an issues and opportunities report that was presented to the town. So here we are in the next step of taking those issues and opportunities and putting them into these 5 topics, and tonight is the 4th in the series, which is transportation. I'll just go through our little planning slide here, which is the next slide, the wheels of planning, where just to summarize what I was saying, in the fall of last year, we were kind of in the first wheel where we're developing hearing your input and getting your ideas and thoughts and formulating them into issue opportunities. And here we are in the second wheel of planning, of the planning process, where we want to formulate, refine, and develop the goals and objectives for the project. Since our focus is transportation and infrastructure tonight, I'm going to turn it over to Ray from LKMA, and he'll talk you through where we are at on the infrastructure and transportation fronts.
Thanks, Bob. We're going to use the same format, I guess, that was used last night, where we'll go through the presentation. There's a good number of slides, so I'll try to go through them relatively quickly. And then we'll have a question and answer session. So Vin Corrado from McLean, myself, and Jeff will be up at the desk with the lights on at that point. We'll be answering questions from the audience and also from those who are watching online as well. So the 2003 plan had certain vision statements, and in the transportation element, I thought it was worthwhile to kind of scan through some of the things that are on here, because you'll see that they are actually very timely today as well. First of all, Route 25, that's New York Route 25, and County Road 58 should remain the primary east-west traffic corridors, while other east-west roads are discouraged from being used as bypass routes. And road improvements in the town should be undertaken in a manner that's sensitive to the town's residential neighborhoods and its historic, scenic, and natural resources. Downtown and the hamlet centers as well should be oriented to transit, pedestrians, and bicycles, and commercial sites in the town should be accessible by not only automobile, but bus, bike, and on foot. Next, please. Similarly, for the utility services, the master plan talked about utility infrastructure being critical to the health, safety, and welfare of the community. The various utility components, water, sewer, electric, natural gas, and telecommunications, are relied upon by residents and businesses, of course, for day-to-day activity and contribute to the town's economic well-being. Utilities should continue to be expanded to meet Riverhead's growing needs, and at the same time, this town should strive to limit any potential negative impacts from new infrastructure on the environment or Riverhead's historic or scenic resources. Next. So that being said, we're going to divide this presentation into two components. The first being transportation, that's the most lengthy one, and the second being utility infrastructure. So the 2003 Comprehensive Plan goals, there are 15 of them. I'm going to just go through them quickly. Hard to read on the slide, but I'm going to try to highlight some of them and talk about what's been done since 2003. So the first two are related. It's to reduce traffic congestion and improve traffic flows along County Road 58 while improving the aesthetic quality of the roadway and also discouraging use of east-west town roads as bypasses. So since 2003, County Road 58, as you know, was widened, but the widening was squeezed within the available property or the available roadway right-of-way that the county had to do the project. So there are no shoulders on the roadway, and essentially, similarly to County Road 39 on the South Fork, the road was squeezed into the available right-of-way so that it could be done and improved more quickly and address the congestion that was occurring. Other goals. So on an ongoing basis, work to reduce traffic congestion on roads throughout the town, provide a town-wide roadway system that ensures the safety of cars, trucks, bikes, buses, and pedestrians. Continue to support and encourage passenger use of the Long Island Railroad and the Riverhead Station. Support and encourage freight use of the Long Island Railroad, and since 2003, the railroad spur to the main line at Calverton was constructed under the Economic Recovery or the American Resources and Recovery Act of 2008 during the economic crisis at that time. Continue to support and encourage use of Suffolk County Transit buses, encourage use of private van pool services, encouraging all the other modes of transportation, walking, biking, and transit use in downtown and in the hamlet centers, and ensure that commercial sites within the town are also very friendly to all those other modes of transportation other than the automobile, and ensure that residential neighborhoods are walkable and bikeable. Next slide. So the last 6 Goal number 10, encourage biking throughout the Riverhead. And since that time, the Alternative Transportation Committee was formed and is active right now. Promote pedestrian and bicycle safety, use traffic calming techniques to slow traffic down on roads used as bypass routes in downtown, in hamlet centers, and in residential neighborhoods. Systematically regulate property access patterns in order to reduce traffic friction. We'll talk more about access to properties and regulating that further along in the presentation. Better coordinate land use and transportation. And number 15, but very important, preserve the character of the town's scenic corridors. And we're going to talk a lot about that. That was a recurring theme during the Hamlet meetings. Next, please. So just to summarize some of the top issues that were raised so far in the outreach performed during this project, you'll see traffic congestion is 54% of the issue. 54% of the respondents raised that as an issue. So it's in the top 3. Next. So the results of the public survey, so this is a summary of the town-wide issues and opportunities with respect to transportation. So improve seasonal and tourism traffic flow on New York Route 25 and County Road 58 in general were the most critical transportation goals. The results of the survey showed that the majority of people who responded work more than 10 miles from home, so that's 35%, while 24% work 0 to 5 miles from home, and 29% at the time the survey was conducted work from home. 68% commute by car alone. So that's actually down. A lot of places on Long Island, the number's more like 80%. None of the respondents use a bike, bus, or taxi to get to and from work, and only 3% use the Long Island Railroad. Next, please. So in terms of summarizing the goals for the comprehensive plan update, they can be summarized into 6 different general goals, and I'll talk more in the following slides about what tasks can then be driven out of those goals for each goal, what needs to be done, or what's the work plan going forward in this comprehensive plan as a result of these 6 goals. So I'll just read them quickly. First is to preserve and enhance historic and scenic corridors while improving traffic flow and safety. Reduce congestion and enhance mobility on existing facilities without overbuilding. Support economic growth and development at EPCAL, Enterprise Park at Calverton. Coordinate transportation improvements with the adjacent towns, the towns of Brookhaven, Southold, and Southampton. Encourage the use of alternative forms of transportation, that primarily being pedestrians and bicyclists. And then foster the increased use of public transportation. Next, please. So for the goal of preserving and enhancing historic and scenic corridors, we've come up with tasks that can be initiated as part of this comprehensive plan update. So this is like a conceptual work plan for each task. And these are some things we're looking for input on or comment on tonight. So in terms of enhancing and preserving historic and scenic corridors, the items that should be done as a work plan evolving from that goal are to review and update land use policies along historic and scenic corridors. So what's the existing land use or zoning or actual use of the property? Is that appropriate for those corridors? And update that and come up with recommendations for coordinating land use and transportation. Next step is to develop criteria for designation of these corridors. Then identify the candidate corridors, applying the criteria that you develop, and then designate them. And then on each corridor, conduct a study to identify context sensitive, which means specifically for that particular roadway or corridor, both short and long-term improvement strategies. In terms of time frame, short-term, we have a 20-year plan here, so we're looking way into the future, which is sometimes difficult to forecast in terms of, particularly now, in terms of the impact of COVID, development of electric vehicles. There's a lot of different components that make it challenging to develop strategies. But we have some initial strategies or early start strategies that could be done, say, 0 to 10 years. You have your short-term improvement strategies, maybe that's a 10-year timetable, and then long-term being the 20-year or the outlying end of the 20-year plan. And then develop an implementation strategy, what projects or what improvements need to be done, and what funding sources can be used. So when you develop a plan like this, you establish the projects and the funding sources. This plan and the EIS that follows set the stage for future funding. So when you adopt a plan, you have the projects identified and what funding sources can be used for them. If there's a grant program that comes out, if there's money that comes out federally or statewide or otherwise, you're got a leg up on other municipalities in competing for the money because you've identified an implementation strategy and funding sources. Next goal, a work plan that could be developed from supporting and encouraging alternative forms of transportation. So the first step is to develop a pedestrian safety action plan, a PSAP. The federal government has guidelines for these plans. So you develop the plan in accordance with federal guidelines, and then the State Department of Transportation facilitates the funding and reviews the information that's in the plan. And these can be pedestrian improvements on roads throughout the town. Conduct walkability audits in hamlet centers. How feasible is it to walk from one place to another? What are the obstacles? What needs to be done? Filling gaps in sidewalks so that sidewalks are continuous. People don't have to walk on the road after they're walking on the sidewalk for a while. Review pedestrian facilities for Americans with Disability Act compliance. Install mid-block pedestrian crossings with appropriate safety features and warnings where that's appropriate. And some of the warning systems could be the RRFB, we call them, the rectangular rapid flashing beacons. So that's a warning sign for a mid-block crosswalk with flashing beacons illuminating underneath the sign, alternatively as someone pushes a button to cross the road and vehicles are supposed to yield to pedestrians who cross the road at that point with that warning device. Implement traffic calming measures to reduce speed and improve pedestrian safety. Review and update site plan requirements for pedestrian facilities. And then coordinate bike routes and bike lanes along the proposed Long Island extension of the Empire State Trail. We mentioned this at a previous presentation. The Empire State Trail originally ran from Buffalo to Manhattan using a combination of bike routes, bike lanes, along major roadways or major corridors. There is now a Long Island extension of that trail, which has been mapped out. And in terms of the town of Riverhead, that trail runs into Southampton and then crosses the Peconic River at Center Drive, runs east along Main Street through downtown, then goes up Roanoke Avenue, and then when it hits Sound Avenue, goes east to Southold. And then investigate connections to the Port Jefferson Wading River Rails to Trails shared use path. A shared use path has been constructed and is now open on the old railroad line from Port Jeff to Wading River. It was a use of that line, which is now used by LIPA, PSE, E&G with high voltage power lines. So the trail runs beneath the power lines. The trail actually connects to the west to a shared use path that's off the roadway and it's used by pedestrians and bicyclists. And that path goes all the way to Setauket. So you can actually now go from Setauket to Wading River and only for maybe a 1 mile portion in Port Jeff Station where it's on the roadway in the form of bike lanes, are you actually on the roadway? You're off the roadway on a shared use path along mostly the utility corridor there. Next, please. The next goal is to support and encourage use of alternative, well, this is actually a continuation of what I was just talking about, alternative forms of transportation. These are other goals or other items that need to be accomplished in a work plan. So review and update town roadway standards for compatibility with bike use. Bike lanes, to have a bike lane striped on a roadway as a bike lane on the pavement, it needs to be 4 foot wide. And if there's curbing in the area, you need a 5 foot wide lane to stripe a lane with the bike symbol in the lane as a separate lane for bicyclists. Bike lanes at bike bypass lanes at traffic signals, and then bike-friendly drainage basin grates. So when a bicyclist goes over a drainage basin, there's certain types of grates that are very friendly where the tire won't be steered in one direction and the bicyclist loses control. There's a special grate for that. Town standards currently are 14-foot wide travel lanes. So that's the only thing that's standardized in terms of a town road standard. So that needs to be elaborated on. So that would 14-foot wide travel lane would mean a 28-foot wide roadway. Review and update site plan requirements for bike facilities. So if you have a large residential or commercial site, should have a bike rack. If people want to go to work or use the bike for recreation, they can park their bike in a bike rack at those places. Next, please. This one talks about reducing congestion and enhancing mobility on existing roadway facilities without overbuilding. So in the left-hand section of this slide, you have talks about a planning level capacity analysis. So what we've done is we've taken generally roadways, major roadways throughout the town, and looked at the number of lanes that are provided. And I'm not really talking about intersections where you have a heavy traffic maybe on the side road trying to get onto the main road. I'm talking about just the roadways in general. For example, is a 2-lane road on Sound Avenue adequate for the traffic volume? Is a 4-lane road on County Road 58 adequate for the traffic volume, the overall number of vehicles that travel on that roadway? And the general planning level, we call it, capacity analysis of the roadway, indicates that most roadways are right sized. There is going to be an exception. I'll talk about that. And then we need to make traffic capacity and safety improvements through management strategies. On the right-hand side of the slide are management strategies for the facility or for the particular roadway. I'll talk about those in a minute. And then demand management. You have a certain number of people in single occupant vehicles. Can you get them out of the vehicles onto bikes as pedestrians, as for walking purposes, or onto transit, shifting them to other modes of travel other than the automobile, particularly the automobile driven by one driver and no passengers. The exception to the planning level capacity analysis is Route 25. The EPCAL traffic is going to result in a need for widening of the roadway. So on the right-hand side, you have general management strategies for roadways. At intersections, I mentioned you have a lot of turns. A good example, Sound Avenue at Edwards Avenue. You have a left turn arrow to turn left. If you're traveling west on Sound, you want to get down Edwards to the Long Island Expressway. There's a left turn arrow. There's no lane to turn left. You really need a left turn lane there. On some roadways in certain areas, you need 2-way left turn lanes if you had a lot of driveways that have a lot of heavy traffic or significant traffic. And in addition to Sound at Edwards, some of the other intersections we've identified, and I've talked about these at past presentations, are Route 25 at Edwards Avenue, which is being improved by DOT in the next couple of years. They're going to be adding turning lanes on all 4 approaches to that intersection and realigning it so that it's a 4-way intersection as opposed to having Edwards Avenue jog in alignment as it passes through the intersection. In terms of access control, take a look at driveway spacing. You have major driveways. Do you need to, reduce the number of driveways on a particular site, space them out more? cross-access between adjacent properties. That's always a good practice. For example, let's say County Road 58, you have a lot of driveways where people have to come out of some of the major sites and they try to make a left turn because they have no other option. If you were able to connect a off the roadway access between, say, that property and another property that might have a traffic signal on it, you could have someone leave one of the properties, travel to the one that has access to the traffic signal, and then you could come out on County Road 58 and make a left turn because you have the traffic signal to get you out, to get you a gap in traffic to make the left turn. This is not always possible. If you do something like that, then the property that doesn't have access now to the traffic signal just has right turns in and out from County Road 58. So there's an improvement in capacity and safety along County Road 58 or any other major road that has a lot of driveways. There's limitations to obtaining cross-access between private properties because if both owners don't agree to it, it doesn't happen. You have the alternative of acquiring the property and then by eminent domain, which is expensive. It's subject to court challenges. A lot of times the particular access point from one property to another, there's a building in the way or there's a major problem with aligning those cross-access driveways together. So that there's a lot of obstacles to actually obtaining that. Restricting turning movements is another, say, no left turn coming out of a site because it's really difficult and you could maybe go down to the next intersection and make some turns. Improvements in traffic control, such as traffic signals or stop signs. Roadway and intersection design improvements at particular intersections where there's a lot of side road traffic trying to get onto that main road and everybody's competing for that space in the middle of the intersection. DOT has a preferred procedure to look at roundabouts first. A lot of times roundabouts, which are very good at reducing significant or accidents with significant injuries because the crashes in roundabouts are very low speed. They're merging accidents as opposed to maybe a right angle accident where two vehicles on different approaches collide. You look at a roundabout, which does require a lot of property, and then you assess whether or not you can do that. If that's not feasible, you move on to other improvements like turning lanes, turning arrows at signals, things of that nature. And then land use controls I mentioned. What land uses should be allowable or permissible in a corridor? What are the desirable ones that don't generate a lot of traffic and add to some of the traffic congestion? And then what's the density in that area? How much can each site develop, or what's the overall criteria for each different land use? Next, please. So then in the area for foster and increased use of public transportation, and Dawn Thomas has been very helpful in providing information on the first group there, circulator buses and trolleys. In the downtown area, downtown Riverhead, there is some funding available to improve transit use in the area because you stop in the downtown, I don't think anyone wants people parking at one place and then, well, it's a little far to walk, I got to get in my car and got to drive over to the other place. I'm adding to congestion on the road. If there was a circulator bus type of thing to get me from one area of downtown to another, that comes at pretty intervals of service that are pretty close together, like say 15 minutes or something like that. A frequent circulator would be highly desirable in an area. That's a thought that could be funded both by the either by the town transit-oriented development redevelopment project, which is currently underway, led by, I guess, RXR is the prime developer there. And Dawn has provided information that there's a RAISE, R-A-I-S-E grant program that the town has applied for a couple times. Now with more identified development in the downtown area, there's a hope that some of that money, that grant money, can be procured and used for transit funding. County Road 58, there was some comments that, hey, we should have more frequent bus service on 58. We should have on Sound Avenue a bus that takes people to agritourism uses and vineyards. Instead of everyone driving separately and adding to traffic congestion, let's get a parking area where a bus can come and provide transportation to certain vineyards, certain agritourism industries, where you're not using 20 cars to transport people in the corridor. You're using one bus with decent intervals of service. Again, Main Road east of County Road 105, a study of bus service should be done there. And then working with the Long Island Railroad to increase service as the downtown area develops. The railroad is responsive as the need for service appears, and there's a development that would be fostered by increased railroad service. They'll add trains. They did it on the South Fork. They added a commuter service between Spionk and Montauk. I believe it's $3.25 to travel from Spionk to Montauk. But the key there is that the town is able to provide a last mile, they call it last mile service, to get you from the train station to your destination, which in a lot of cases is employment. So on the South Fork, people who work in Southampton have trouble getting across the Shinnecock Canal because the traffic backs up. So they take a train for a relatively low fare, take a train to the train station, and they get a bus that circulates in the downtown area, takes them to their job, and then they return the same way in the afternoon. In Montauk, there's a hopper service that seems to return in the summertime. I believe it's going to return in 2022. That's funded, I think, by a private bus transit operation. And then providing bus shelters and turnouts. So when you wait for the bus, you don't want to get wet, particularly if the bus is not coming for 30 minutes. And the thought was to provide, and this is got a lot of support in prior meetings, provide bus turnouts on County Road 58, which has a lot of traffic volume. You don't want the bus, if it doesn't have to, stopping in the right lane of traffic, blocking traffic while it unloads passengers and loads passengers, and vehicles have to actually get out of that lane and try to pass it. It causes backups. So just provide a little cutout where the bus has a parallel lane, almost like an acceleration lane, where the bus pulls out of the right lane, stops at a bus kiosk, and picks up passengers. These are at stations or bus routes where there is a significant number of passengers. Next, please. And then the next goal is to support economic growth and development at EPCAL. In the left-hand column there, the EPCAL generic environmental impact statement identified extensive off-site improvements needed to mitigate the traffic that was generated by EPCAL full development. The development strategy needs to include an implementation plan to identify the parties, being, usually the developer funds a lot of the traffic mitigation. Maybe there's a role for the municipality to play in doing some of the roadway and other improvements. Identify funding sources for the roadway traffic mitigation, and update the implementation schedule when these improvements can be implemented. In the right-hand column, and I think, as you know, the IDA assumed control of the development at EPCAL. From the GEIS that was done a while ago for EPCAL, the program was in 2025 that the Route 25 in the area of EPCAL had to be widened to 5 lanes. So that's 2 lanes in each direction with a center turning lane. Approaches to 12 intersections needed to be widened. That's generally adding turning lanes at those intersections. 5 existing and 6 new traffic signals needed to be provided, these existing ones being upgraded. And by 2035, additional widenings at 8 intersections, upgrading of 10 more signals, and installing 1 additional signal would be required. So there's a significant amount of traffic to be generated by EPCAL that will require specific improvements. Next, please. And then coordinating transportation strategies with ongoing efforts of others is always an important goal. And in this case, coordinating improvements with adjacent towns, as I mentioned, Brookhaven, Southampton, and Southold is very important because you want to be consistent with roadway and other improvements that are being provided. You want to get information on planned developments in those areas. So if there's a large development that's near the Riverhead border, you want to know about that because some of the traffic's going to enter Riverhead. Outreach with these towns has been initiated, and we've requested information, so we'll be getting that. And then you want to coordinate with the Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. That's generally a 4 or 5 year plan that identifies specific projects in each area of Long Island that are being funded primarily by federal, state, or county funds. And it gives you a timetable on when those projects are going to be implemented. So you want to try to get, when you get this plan together, when you get your update, comprehensive plan update completed, you want to try to get the projects funded on this transportation improvement program. And then, of course, coordination, I mentioned the Alternative Transportation Committee. The Traffic Safety Committee, important to coordinate with. We'll be working with them ongoing, already started that outreach. And then there's ongoing regional efforts. The North Fork Transportation and Traffic Task Force, which is overseen by Suffolk County Planning. We're actually initiated coordination with that group as well. Next, please. So I talked a lot about transportation. The next component of infrastructure are the utility services in the town. Next. So we divided these into 7 general categories: drinking water, sanitary, sewer, solid waste, electric service, renewable energy, natural gas service, and then we have a group of telephone, Wi-Fi, and cable. Next. So back to the 2003 plan, and we have 11 goals here for utility services. First 2 are related: to ensure that homes, businesses, and institutions are provided with adequate, reliable, high-quality electric, gas, cable, and telecommunications services, and a high-quality supply of drinking water, which has become more publicized recently, and I'll get into that in a bit. If possible, expand areas around downtown, EPCAL, and hamlet centers that can be served by sewer. Encourage energy conservation and efficient use of utility infrastructure and services. Ensure that physical infrastructure associated with utility services is respectful of the natural, scenic, and historic resources in the town. Continue to provide a high-quality solid waste disposal program. Continue to provide a high-quality recycling program. So all those solid waste goals are the subject of a solid waste management plan that's currently being upgraded by the town, as are the last 4 on the next page. Goals 8 through 11 talk about mining the former town landfill and preparing a reclamation plan, development standards, special permits for solid waste management facilities, and ensuring that the plan identifies geographic locations which could support solid waste facilities. Next, please. Drinking water, I'm sure you've all read about the efforts to improve water quality in Manorville, both in the town of Riverhead and also Manorville in the town of Brookhaven. Properties affected by the Grumman-Calverton groundwater pollution. There's been a $3.5 million federal grant awarded to extend water mains to Manorville properties within the town of Riverhead. That's out of an $11 million cost estimate, so it's a partial funding. So the next bullet talks about pursuing additional funding to develop the infrastructure needed to deliver clean drinking water. Initiate designs, once that's done and the funding is obtained, initiate designs for the delivery system, implement the system and construct it, and then monitor and maintain that. Suffolk County Water Authority has similar short and intermediate term goals. The short-term goal is the same as Town of Riverhead. They also received a $3.5 million federal grant to extend water mains to Manorville and Brookhaven Town. And then the county does have a project in their master plan, which is a bit outdated, but it's available online if you Google, to improve water main supply to the North Fork. So the North Fork needs some additional water main capacity. So the county has on their program an extension of water mains via County Road 105, Hubbard Avenue, and Peconic Bay Boulevard into Southold Town to do that. Additional goals on the next slide address the needs of future development by requiring developers to pay for water system extensions. So if there's a developer in an area that's served primarily by private wells, a developer wants to put in a large private development, and there's no public water, the developer is required to extend the water main and bring service to his property. In terms of monitoring, the county has a system called, the County Water Authority, called SCADA, S-C-A-D-A, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition System. They have a control center in Bayshore that does remote monitoring of water system conditions. So they can actually know what's going on. They can address problems more quickly. And then in Riverhead, there's a need for more efficient water limitation controls during the summer when the irrigation and the water supply requirement for that is at its peak. Next, please. In terms of sanitary system, in terms of Calverton, the treatment plant at the Calverton Sewer District is undergoing a $10 million upgrade. But that sewer district only covers the core area of EPCAL. So additional sewers are going to be needed when EPCAL fully develops. In terms of the town sewer district, short and intermediate term goals are first a sludge conditioning project, which treats solid waste sludge to allow use as compost as long as it's not going to be in contact with crops on farmland. And it's estimated that that'll save $250,000 per year in savings by doing that. And of course, there's the use of innovative and alternative, abbreviated as IA, on-site wastewater treatment systems, which is a county-wide program, and that's to reduce nitrogen pollution of groundwater, which is critical in this area, and it's widespread throughout the town as well. And then, as far as the town sewer district is concerned specifically, there's a critical need for licensed plant operators and support staff. Long-term goals for the town sewer district are to treat all wastewater in Riverhead. The town has 13 pump stations to pump the sewer flow to the treatment plant. So there's 13 of them. And the next project identified is to upgrade the southwest pump station, which, and again, this is just for one of the 13, is an $8 to $9 million estimated cost to do that upgrade. Next, please. So the next goal is to update the solid waste management and recycling practices in the town. This slide was actually presented as part of the environmental sustainability and renewable energy presentation on April 12th. It was prepared by AKRF. I'm just going to touch on, first is the most important, complete the updates to the solid waste management plan. Second, very important, to reduce the waste stream and reliance on the Covanta facility, which is in Islip, to burn the trash, and then the ash from that burning goes to disposal at the Brookhaven Town landfill, which is supposed to close within 5 years. Educate the homeowners and work with landscapers to reduce yard waste. Expand public education on waste stream reduction and recycling. And then the next two, create a program for reducing food waste and developing practices that achieve zero waste. And just this week, the town of Brookhaven, you may have seen it, and Suffolk County together announced the construction or the groundbreaking for an anaerobic digester plant or facility within the town. It's in Yaphank. There's only 12 of them in the entire country. And what that does is it reduces food waste by produces compost material, and the energy that's produced is actually sold back to National Grid to be used in the natural gas system, which is a great and environmentally favorable use of that procedure. Study the potential for a glass repurposing facility, expand recycling practices in public spaces, parks in downtown, fully analyze contaminants at the town's landfill. Again, the solid waste management plan is being upgraded by the town. Next thing that was talked about on April 12th is renewable energy, and we just added a slide here. New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, the CLCPA, now mandates 70% of electricity must be generated by renewables, or must be renewable by 2030, and 100% by 2040. So there's a statewide mandate now to foster transition to clean energy. And again, this one is the solar energy systems. The next slide, I'm sorry. Solar energy system guidelines, and this again was presented on April 12th. The survey results that were conducted under this project, there was the importance of renewable energy and solar, but using solar facilities was kind of a neutral issue. There were people in support of it, people against it. And then talking about the first group of bullets, talking about balancing the need for renewable energy with other concerns related to siting solar energy projects. So there are site issues. Where should they be put? There are a few of them on the town already approved. The next bottom three bullets talk about issues to consider going forward. These are the pluses and minuses. There is, as you know, a current moratorium on new solar facilities. Solar can support the agricultural economy and preservation. The town should examine the industrial zoning and solar permitting process. There could be a loss of productive farmland if these are sited on farms. Visual impacts of solar farms. And I guess announced also, I think it was this week, the possibility of installing solar facilities at the former town landfill on Youngs Avenue in Calverton. So that's a good use because that site is not being used for anything. It's a former landfill, so there's nothing really going on there. Next slide. And again, this slide was developing guidelines for energy supply systems in terms of battery storage was presented on April 12th as well. And next, please. So turning to private utility services, and we group these together: electric, natural gas, and then cellular, telephone, Wi-Fi, cable TV, and internet. These private services are largely out of the town's control or purview. So the town has no real formal control over them. There's a changing landscape due to climate change, green energy, work and school being done at home. And then we've reached out to the items that are listed on the last bullet, or the agencies: PSE&G, National Grid, Optimum, Cablevision, Altice, One generally one entity there, and Verizon about future plans, because we'd like to know, we're doing a 20-year plan. What do these agencies or companies have in mind for the next 20 years? And they're basically non-committal, they're non-responsive. I guess they don't want to tell or make public what they're planning on doing and then have not achieving that, or they're just very close to the vest in terms of revealing details. Next, please. So that basically concludes the presentation. We just wanted to say we'd like to know comments about your vision, goals, and recommendations for the future of transportation and also utility services in the town. We're looking for comments on the goals I just talked about, the goals we presented. Provide additional goals, recommendations, and projects, if you will. Comments and suggestions can also be submitted in writing at, and it might be a little hard to read, so it's www. And then it's one word, Town of Riverhead Comprehensive Plan Update.com.
I'd like to say something. Can you hear me?
Yes, Yvette, how are you this evening?
Good, thank you. Okay, I agree with you with the centralized parking to limit sprawl in town, in certain districts in town, concerning transportation. But when we compare Route 58 and we compare the prospective new town square, we have very different demands. So for example, on Route 58, it's very transient. It's excessively used by individual ownership of vehicles, and it's certain times of the year, especially the summer and the holidays, that becomes very congested, and so we should try to work around those variables that we know are common variables. I don't think that we should lump in Route 58 with our downtown. So for example, we're in the process of building affordable housing and moderately priced homes, apartments, and that's going to create probably young professionals, some of your elderly that can't afford to own a home and want the walkability. And I think that we should start looking at what they call the smart cities, limiting individual automobile use, possibly making a parking lot in a central location where everybody knows where they have to go, everybody's comfortable, and then from there they can use all other alternative vehicles, such as your PEVs and your electric vehicles, the shared transports, scooters. We started on scooters and possibly your bike lanes. And so I think that we should look at the town square, especially since it's something that we started the process, which eventually is going to be a comprehensive process, and it'll be an open process, and there'll be informational sessions and public hearings. So it'll be an open process to everyone. But I think we should take the approach of looking at the town square a little bit different. And I have some ideas and knowledge, and I think Mark Hopner is interested in working with us. And so I'm going to make that recommendation to possibly look at that for inclusion in the comprehensive plan.
Mark, don't you love it when you get volunteered?
I don't know what she's talking about.
Is he there?
He's here. He just realized, he just found out you volunteered him.
Well, you know what? He's got knowledge. He's got the desire, and he's part of our community. And so, if he wants to get engaged, Mark, you can turn me down if you want. I'll find somebody else, I think. But I think you were the best choice. And but I think it's something that, whether it's a little subcommittee off to the side to make recommendations, we have a tremendous amount of apartments going up, and we want to encourage the lack of congestion through automobiles. And there are many forms that we can adopt possibly to limit that. And it's good. It's safer for the environment. It complies with regulations. I know you mentioned a state regulation, but there's a congressional act out there from 2021 also dictating very similar conditions as the one from the state. And if you are inclusive with smart growth, there is usually a tremendous amount, and you have priority on funding. So I think it's something that that needs to be explored.
All right. Anything else, Yvette?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Usually, at this point in the presentation, we turn it over to the public that's attending live. However, we do have representatives from different agencies that are with us attending virtually. We have with us, hopefully they're still on, Greg, Darnielle Tyson, Deputy Commissioner of Suffolk County Department of Public Works. We have Neve Perota, also with the Department of Public Works. She's Director of Traffic Safety, I believe is her title. Forgive me if I get that wrong. And we also have from the Department of Transportation, Steve Belkin. So if any of the three of you would like to weigh in on this very important subject, please raise your hand in the chat function of the Zoom, and we will admit you in.
Alexander Prego coming in.
Okay, Alexander.
Suffolk County DPW.
Yes, I'm also
Alexander
with,
Prego. How are you, Alexander?
Good. Nice to hear everybody. I'm also with Suffolk County DPW. I'm the Assistant Chief Engineer.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to hear all these wonderful ideas, and really thank you, Ray, for that presentation. I did want to point out one thing on the rails to trails. It actually is not yet open. It is still under construction, but we expect it to be open sometime in the very near future.
Okay, this is the one that starts at Wading River and heads west?
That is correct.
And what was it start, when did you anticipate the opening date?
Very soon, sometime this spring.
Okay. Okay, is anybody else from DPW or Department of Transportation, would you like to weigh in?
Darnell Tyson raised his hand.
All right. Come on in, Darnielle. Come on, welcome.
Good evening. Sorry, I apologize for a lot of background noise here. I just wanted to say I did hear the presentation. We certainly echo, a lot of the concerns and ideas that are raised, and, we just want to do what we can to support it on the transportation end. So we will stay involved, and we look forward to, helping to, increase public transportation use out there. I just wanted to just make those points.
Great. Well, thank you for coming this evening. Does either Neve or Neve want to say anything? Anyone raising their hands? All right, I'm going to turn it back over to the audience now. I want to recognize a couple of dignitaries. We got, oh,
Tracy Stark James raised his hand.
all right, Tracy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I may have missed it, but in the anticipated development at Calverton, it's my understanding that there is some form of an unpaved access point from the Long Island Expressway to the Enterprise Park at Calverton. And I think that should be explored.
You're talking about direct connection?
Who said that?
Jeff Murphy, I posed that as a question. Is that what you meant?
Yes.
Yep, okay.
Absolutely, because that would alleviate traffic coming from the west or the east, from the west into the park. And
Gotcha.
having to take the access points that are currently available, namely 25 and going past Calverton, I forget the exit number, but it comes back up and heads west on Grumman Boulevard.
Okay. Anything else,
That's it.
Tracy?
That's it.
Okay, anybody else have their hand raised? No. Okay, seeing no other hands raised in the virtual land, I'm going to turn over to our,
Lee Mendelson just raised his hand.
okay. Last minute pop-up, Lee?
Hi, I thought it was a good presentation as well, but to me, the biggest problem that we face is the fact that the trains are so limited. I can't hop on a train and take my wife to go see a show and take the train home. There are attorneys on a daily basis who can't come in from the city to appear in court because it's certainly walking distance from the station, because the trains don't run frequently to go back. There are people who we want, I think, to come out here for agribusiness, on the weekends, maybe visit the wineries, as we were talking about, who can't come in by train and then go home by train because they don't run frequently enough. Suffice to say that I think that a real issue, especially as pertains to the comprehensive plan and talking about transportation, is the lack of train service. Having, the last train coming out from Penn Station being at 5:40, in the afternoon, and I think the last train going into Penn Station being at 10:30 in the morning really limits the accessibility of Riverhead to a lot of people.
That concern has been echoed many times throughout the years about train service on the North Fork.
I understand it's been echoed, but if we're talking about a comprehensive plan, perhaps now is the time to make the push with everyone involved to try and do something about it.
Absolutely. We wholeheartedly agree with that.
And during the presentation, Ray touched on the idea of the last mile services and the Long Island Railroad. It's a chicken and egg thing with the major public transportation providers, in that there has to be local support. There has to be local support demonstrated for the increased service before they'll agree to consider increasing it. And that's what happened on the South Fork. The town's committed to providing locally funded last mile service, and then the railroad stepped up and added trains. As part of that program, they added one train, I think, on the North Fork. And, obviously, the demand is not the same as on the South Fork as it is on the North Fork, but that did happen. But that's what the railroad asks, that the locals demonstrate support for the increased train, because putting together another consist and drastically changing their schedules to put a train, to add even one train, is a significant endeavor. And when you have demand of 3 or 4 or 5 riders on the existing service, they very hesitant to do it. So there has to be that incremental actions that get taken on the local level before the MTA will commit to improving service.
I respect that, and I certainly understand, but we are now facing a situation where, with the town square, which we think will be a destination for people, we are putting buildings as part of the transportation development that people will reside in, that I think that we may be able to show the necessity of it to try and push the LIRR or the MTA to add a train or two, at least for a trial basis, and see. I'm of the opinion still that sort of if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, well, I think we're saying the same things. I think that is taking place. You're right. That's a big difference between now and 03, that the demand is starting to materialize. And if the town, as part of those, like Ray said before, talking about potential local transit money being available in some of those grant and development programs, demonstrates the support of that, then it's more likely to happen than it was in 2003. I think we're saying the same thing.
Okay, thank you. I admired the presentation. I thought there were a lot of excellent points. That was the only point I wanted to make. Thank you.
All right, Lee, thank you very much. Anybody else raising their hand in the virtual line, Greg? Just going to give them a few seconds. There tends to be a lag sometimes. Not seeing any? All right, we're going to switch it over to, try this a second time or third time, to the people attending live. I see in the audience we have representatives from Al Krupski office. John, did you have anything want to weigh in?
No,
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, thank you for coming, really appreciate it. Former Councilman Catherine Kent, we'll put you on the spot. No? Okay.
I have some stuff, but not right now.
Jim, I see you are Chair of the Downtown Revitalization Committee. Would you like to offer anything? You have to come to the podium. If you don't volunteer, I'm going to call on you. And I apologize, I don't know everybody in the audience, so. Good evening, Jim.
Hi. I'm just going to echo Lee's comments.
Please identify yourself and Hamlin.
James Farley, South Jamesport. I'd like to echo Lee's comments. I personally think that the comprehensive plan has to have a very strong look at what we can do in terms of rail transport. I realize the jitney's there and running. I know there's a thought to bring the jitney into the transportation area alongside the train in that. I think there's a lot of incentives for the train system to get up to snuff and start coming out here. And maybe the plan should consider ways to incentivize train use, not only in the town of Riverhead, but perhaps in a joint program with the town of Southold and Greenport as well, where visitors to Riverhead and the North Fork can be incentivized to use the trains. As a matter of fact, I think if they were provided, it'd be pretty easy. And if done with the county, where the county bus system could somehow be brought in to address the last mile issues to a certain degree, I think it might all work quite well in tandem. So that's my only observation there.
Terrific.
Okay.
Cool. Mark Kobner, I'm going to call on you. You knew I was going to do it.
Jeff,
Mark
can you
Hopper
hear
from
me?
Aquabog, New York. New York, duh. Aquabog?
Okay.
She had a question?
Yvette, did you have a question?
Yeah, real quick, I'm sorry, Mark. I believe there is some plan to try to bring a second train out to Riverhead. I think they were gonna test it in the summer. Do you know anything about that, Jeff?
I'm looking to Ray and to Mark and to Vin.
No.
They're shaking their heads no.
And we've been,
Okay.
we've engaged the railroad rep that's on the committee, on the CAC, and I don't remember hearing anything about that. We'll follow up on it.
Okay. Yeah, would you mind? Thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm very excited to have been given the option to opt out. Yvette, thank you very much. She did, right? She said, I don't have to do this, but I do. I'm honored and excited. There's a lot going on. One of the things that, of the materials you handed me today was the idea of cooperation between the community, governance, technology. All of these things have to be integrated. Intercommittee, interdepartmental, interagency, using the nonprofits, using the civics, and cutting across and using them all on almost like a dream team. I've got dream teams for all my projects. So using a couple of people from engineering, Ken Tester or Jason Blizzard, for example, we depend on them very much. Greg Bergman, I know, you're probably doing 5 jobs. People like Dawn or Laverne, I mean, all of these people are going to do the work. But we're here to help drive that. I'm a generalist, which means I'm a master of none, but that's okay. No, really, I'm a generalist. I'm a systems thinker.
So you're a general on the field?
Yeah, I'm the general, telling everybody what to do. See, that's not going to work. It has to be cooperative and people stepping up, and we certainly, on our environmental committee, we have people stepping up, George, Barbara, Angela, everybody. And that's how it's going to get done. And it's a lot of work, but it's got to be enjoyable at the same time. We've got to see the vision that's driving us forward on this. And we've certainly got a talent pool. I mean, we've got the people that are available to get these jobs done. So grants, I don't know anything about grant writing, for example, but I know that when we start to look at the return on the investment for our time, the return on points, if you will, from the Climate Smart Communities or the Clean Energy Communities programs from NYSERDA and DEC, we're going to start laying out what these are going to bring us. And I'm loving the integration between the Climate Smart and the Clean Energy Communities programs that are going into the comprehensive plan, and they give us concrete actions. And I think people need to see concrete actions. They need to be involved. So we've got nonprofits and we've got civics that can get their people motivated and off the couch and doing things. I'm looking at people who are here constantly involved, but we need more of those. So, but thank you for the opportunity.
And Mark, I just want to add one thing. You mentioned something that's very critical in any comprehensive plan. And this is actually a research project. You're using some of the basic principles of research and compiling and getting to an end product. You mentioned a systems approach, and that's exactly what this is, getting the entire community, getting the people at Town Hall, getting the board, of course, and they've been very supportive along this line, and getting the civic groups. Your plan is your supervisor, the people who are sitting here who came to visit us today. So it's all about inputs, and then we're going to produce the outputs. So, and that's what the systems approach is. And it's interesting that you mentioned that today. So, and that's what that's the goal here, and that's the approach. And thank you for working with our community and anyone else who's out there today. I can't see the audience who's there. Thank you for being here today.
Yeah, we talk about transportation as a focal point, but it can't be the only point. Obviously, it's not working in isolation of anything else. You're talking about intermodal. You're talking about housing so that people could just walk to the bus station or the train, which means there's a grocery store, which means they're going to get food from the farms. I mean, it's the whole community that's involved in all of these things. So integration is really the key. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to see if Barbara Blast would like to come to the podium.
Actually, I'm going to write up my questions. There's a lot of information here, a lot of things that I'm not unsure about, and I think it'd be more effective if I just write it up.
Okay, that's totally fine.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
But you were enough for me last night anyway.
Sid.
We do have Jones here also in the
Okay.
virtual way.
All right, Joan, we're going to wait for you for one moment. We're going to call Sid Bale to the podium if he has anything. Joan, you'll be next. How are you, Sid?
Good evening, everyone. Just one quick observation. I like Ray's presentation and also the emphasis upon protecting the scenic and historic character, particularly Sound Avenue, and he recognized that early. But transportation is obviously going to be a very big component of achieving that. But I would hope that one thing that I don't believe can be neglected is to address the existing permitted uses in the zoning code on Sound Avenue. And, Mark was talking about a holistic approach. I think that's a very big part of it. But some very interesting comments made in the presentations today. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Sid. Joan?
Good evening. Just one point on the infrastructure. Is it possible in the future to give residents of Riverhead options with regard to telecommunications and cable providers? I think we've all had our unpleasant moments with the current provider from time to time, but we don't have any other options. So is that something that we can change, or are we locked into a contract with Altice and Optimum?
That's not just an issue for Riverhead, it's basically the whole east end of Long Island, and it's a great question. I'm going to defer that, Joan, and I'll look into that with our town attorney. And that gets into other issues outside of my scope of expertise, but I think we can, if I can see if I can find an answer for you.
Okay, thank you. And then just the other comment I'd like to make is with regard to making Riverhead a more bike-friendly community. I think that would be wonderful. As someone who very much enjoys biking, and I'm not going to set any world speed records, but I ride 45, 50 miles a week. I have to say, it's not a bike-friendly community. You couldn't ride on 58 right now. You couldn't ride safely in downtown. And to say that we want to extend a state bike trail on Sound Avenue, frankly, isn't safe either. You can't bike safely on Sound Avenue. So I wholly support the concept of making the community more bike-friendly, but I think it's a very big challenge for you to do that, and I wish you good luck with that. I also want to encourage you all to look at the goals and the plans more frequently, because when I go back to your slides, I think 8 and 9, where we have the goals for 2003, unfortunately, there's so many of those goals that either we haven't met or we've gone in the opposite direction. And so we need to take this plan out every year and assess our progress toward it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. I'll get back to you on your question about the telecommunication providers.
Thank you.
Anybody else in virtual land? Anybody in virtual land, if you'd like to speak, raise, I see a couple of hands up. Tracy Stark, would you like to say something else?
I think those are left up.
Yeah, I think they're just left up.
Okay, they're just left up, okay. All right, anybody else in the audience that would like to speak? Last call? Catherine Kent.
Finished writing.
Just a quick question. You talked about the cross-access. Are you talking about new developments or properties, or would you also be looking at existing ones? Because there are a few places where there are issues and there needs to be cross-access.
Both. Yeah, both really, and to a large degree, CR 58, we tend to focus on that because that's where mostly the problem is. In 2003, it was not developed the way it is now. And one of the recommendations was to require cross-access, and to a large degree, it happened. A lot of the contiguous parcels are connected internally, and that would be when those properties get redeveloped, if that could be enhanced or added to parcels that were left out of that process, yes. But establishing new cross-access in the form of some sort of connecting roadway or something is a little tricky because there's right-of-way issues, there's cost issues, et cetera. But, I mean, definitely in the site plan process, I don't know if it's written into the site plan process or if it gets done on a case-by-case basis where those cross-accesses are required as a condition of issuing a building permit. That should definitely continue to take place. And it should be a cross-access that is usable too. A lot of times they just pay lip service to it. They say, here's our connection, and it's in the back of the buildings and nobody ever uses it, right? And they continue to, they don't even know it's there. But I think that, frankly, I think that's a goal that the town has done pretty well on CR 58. A lot of the properties that are not connected are divided by, like, the town's highway yard, the state's highway yard, where cross-access is not feasible. So, I mean, but it's always a good idea to provide cross-access because it limits access points or turning movements on the frontage road. So both, I guess. The answer is both,
Okay. One of the places that people brought up was Lidl, but I think there's a reason that we can't, that was an issue.
Yeah, so that, and they kind of touched on it when we had existing sites. So when Lidl came in, they came in for facade renovations, they were in for site plan. We had the property owners of the Lidl facility establish a future cross-access on the east side of their property to connect to that DACA's office. The problem is we can't compel that neighboring property owner to allow that cross-access on their end. So the future cross-access is in place on Lidl. If at some point the facility to the east comes in for site plan, that's when we'd have them capture that cross-access to allow someone to get out to that light and make a left.
Okay, thanks. Another thing is on the circulator buses, which I think is a great idea. So are you talking about like one circulator bus that's going around? Because obviously during the fall traffic, that would be a time when you would want to increase the number of circulator buses running.
Right, it's, it all depends. You kind of lay out the route and then think about the headway that you want. That's going to be a desirable headway that'll make people use it. And then you need to have that, the number of vehicles would be tailored to that. So you have to do it in East Hampton. When we originally laid out, we laid out the one for East Hampton. It only runs in the summer. When we initially laid it out, we had 2 routes with 1 bus on each, and the decision was made to combine the 2 routes, put 2 buses on it to decrease the headway. Made the route a little bit longer, but the time between buses was shorter. So some people's rides went longer, and it worked out really well. The first summer, without advertising, 16,000 people rode that bus.
Montauk?
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
Montauk.
That's what Montauk. And it went from downtown to the harbor area, to the train station, to the Hills camping grounds, and then back to the downtown. So it ran 2 years in a row, did really well, then COVID, so it didn't run. And I think they're gonna put it back this year.
Now, is that a public-private partnership? How's that?
Actually, the town got money, the town got grant money, put out an RFP. They got one serious respondent, which was, the Hopper, Hampton Hopper, I think. And they responded, I think they paid the town. No, the town paid them to run it, but they were allowed to use get some of the advertising revenue back. So it worked out pretty well, and it's all app-based. The young guys run it. So they're really up on the technology. It is, I think it's free too.
For the
riders, yeah.
If you could find out more information about that, I think that's a great idea worth pursuing.
Yeah, so that'd be something that I would think for downtown, like the train station to TOD, maybe to the county center, then to the downtown, then circle back. You could do that with a pretty short headway, right? So that would work in the new town square. It could hit a lot of the municipal park, the existing municipal parking lots, so people could park off-site. But then there are other elements of last mile stuff, like trolley services, which would be linear. Maybe you consider linear on CF 58, right? A linear service that goes back and forth like a trolley.
Okay, so you
And
could get some more
Sound Avenue, the
information
same
on
thing.
that, and if you could just get some more information on that, and then share it
I
with
have
me.
a lot of, I did a lot of research when I did the one for East Hampton.
That's what I'm talking
I have
about.
all of that research, and we wrote the RFP, and so
Okay, so if you could share that with us, and then we can share it with the Alternative Transportation Group, and share it with everybody who's interested.
they're not always that successful. A lot of times, they'll make it a condition that a developer will come in with a big project, and they'll say, well, in order to offset your transportation impact, you provide this shuttle service to the downtown. And they do like it half-heartedly, and they don't advertise it, and it's not convenient, so nobody uses it, and then nobody makes them follow up on it anymore. So that sort of last mile stuff that just never has, and it gave it a bad name. It gave it a bad name. So, but when we did this for East Hampton, and the railroad, it was largely as a result of the meetings that we were having to provide last mile service to the railroad that came out of. So it's, it works.
Are you taking a look at the fall traffic and other ideas for that?
We don't have scheduled traffic counts for the fall, but we're pretty familiar with the fall traffic volumes. I've been working in Riverhead for a long time.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that Vin worked on the 2003 plan, you probably know that. So he has a nice connection to what's being done now and what's worked, and we have a long history of it.
And you know what Ray said during the presentation, talking about most of the facilities are right-sized. When you look at average daily traffic on Sound Avenue, the number of lanes that are on Sound Avenue are sufficient when you look at it from a planning level of detail. But that doesn't say that the number of lanes are sufficient in peak fall, pumpkin picking, apple pie, Thanksgiving shopping season, you know what I mean? And that's where the demand management and access management all comes in, Talk about this more.
And the last thing, I'm in agreement about getting more trains in here. And another thing, the jitney, it's nice that we have the jitney, but the jitney hours actually are really limited. you know, if you want to go into Manhattan, there aren't any trains running late, so it'd be great to get the jitney to add more hours. Thank you.
One thing, go ahead and talk about the.
Yeah, as we mentioned too, we're coordinating with the North Fork Transportation Force, which is overseen by county planning. So we'll be working together with that, with traffic conditions on the North Fork, and what can we do together with Southold Town to improve transportation, improve use of public transit, maybe work some stuff out with the railroad. The railroad is looking into replacing the existing diesel trains, ultimately with battery-powered trains, rechargeable trains. So that's something that they're looking down the road.
Do you have any
and again-
update on the relocation of their hub, of the train station?
Yaphank?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had talked earlier, very early in this project about the Yaphank station being relocated. There's an existing train station in Yaphank. It's adjacent to Suffolk County DPW. It's off of County Road 21. It's exit 67 in Yaphank.
Is that Horse Block Road area?
That's actually
Yaphank Avenue.
Yaphank
Yeah,
Avenue.
Avenue.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, if you go by that station at any point in the day, you'll see 3 cars parked there. That's the, that gives you a sign of the ridership. So the railroad was looking into moving it further east, so maybe it could be accessed by Brookhaven Lab and used in conjunction with that. There were a couple different locations. It looks like now the town and the county, I believe, together are talking about moving it just east of William Floyd Parkway in a large industrial area on the south side of the expressway. So the only real access to that would be from William Floyd Parkway. That's
And
the
the
primary
expressway service
access. And the expressway service road. So we had been concerned that if the station was moved further east, there'd be roads in Riverhead used to get in and out of the train station or get to the train station, which would add traffic and possible congestion on some Riverhead roads, but that does not seem to be the case.
We do have Tracy Stark James.
Oh, she wants to come back on? Tracy, and then, while you're coming to the podium, we're going to talk, come on to the podium, and then while you're coming to the podium, we'll call on Tracy.
No, that was a mistake. Sorry about that.
Tracy, go ahead. She didn't want.
No, my hand was raised accidentally. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You gotta go to the podium. Yeah.
I just want to talk about Route 58. Grace Swift, I'm from Calverton. Your big problem on Route 58 is your lights are not coordinated correctly. I drove a school bus for 23 years in Sachem School District in Brookhaven, and you become very much aware of traffic patterns. About a month ago, it happens all the time, but I'm sitting trying to go west to get back to Calverton, and I'm sitting in all the traffic. We're not moving. The traffic light ahead, one up, turns red. Ours turns green, but where do we go? We can't go no place because the ones in front are on a red light. And this was the whole consistent trip trying to get west. And it happens all the time. And if somebody in the state does not get those coordinated, you're never going to move traffic correctly.
That's actually a very good comment, Grace. As a matter of fact, before the county replies, because I know they will, they are actually conducting a study to upgrade traffic signal timing on multiple roadways, and County Road 58 is one of them, so that you should not go one traffic signal and then stop again. And no matter which direction of travel you're in, you should be able to at least make a couple of them in a row.
Yeah.
So your stops will be less.
And this was the whole way. The one in front is red, they can't go no place,
Right.
even if the one in front of them was green. So It was really, and it happens quite frequently out there.
Yeah, well, the county has recognized that, and they added, County Road 58 on their list, and I think we may have something from them, I think was by summer, they may have some timings that they might be able to implement, but we'll keep track of that, but that is in the works.
The last time there was a meeting here, Steve Belkin,
DOT?
he was supposed to look into the traffic study that was done by Tractor Supply on 25 and Fresh Pond Avenue. And I have a feeling, whether he's updated himself, he was new on that project. And it is getting increasingly difficult. And there are 326 mobile homes at the end of Fresh Pond Avenue and Sound Avenue, and that's bad enough in the summer to get out in that wine traffic. But then we can't get out the other end because of the trucks and all the cars from Tractor Supply on the south side. And that does definitely need to be pushed.
So if anybody on the county is in the virtual world, if you could bump Route 58 on your priority list of review and analysis and recommendations, the town of Riverhead would be grateful.
Yes, I can speak to that. This is Alex Prego again from Suffolk County DPW, and Ray's right on the money with that. Based upon the last meetings, we actually attended the last round of meetings and listened in, and because of those meetings, we actually did push County Road 58 higher up on the priority list. And our goal is to have new timings in place for all of County Road 58 by the fall, hopefully earlier, but we actually did push it up based upon these last meetings. So the only thing I'm going to say about signal timing is sometimes when the road is at or above capacity, you do sometimes, signal timing can't always be the solution during certain hours of the day. So just, it can't always be the answer, but it will help many hours of the day.
And HK Ventures is adjacent to the Tractor. Yeah.
Yep.
We are, actually, Jeff has asked us to do a review of the traffic study for HK Ventures, which is a proposed development which is next to Tractor Supply.
Oh, I know, we're waiting on that.
Okay, so that's in the works, and I think we're awaiting a revised traffic study, I believe, on that one, I think. We had suggested cross-access to Tractor Supply, so that traffic from this new development could come out via Tractor Supply opposite Fresh Pond and looking into either a roundabout or a traffic signal at that location, which would benefit traffic from coming out of Fresh Pond as well.
Yeah, well, I think they said at one of the meetings that that project wouldn't be going ahead until Edwards Avenue was, intersection with 25 would be done, because they felt all the commercial traffic would come off the expressway on Edwards to go to there, and a certain percentage of the workers.
Okay. Sorry, we're getting a
Oh,
signal from the
yeah,
control.
you can't be
Oh, I'm
picked
sorry.
up unless you're by the microphone. Larry's getting mad at you, Grace.
We can hear you, but you're not being recorded.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You have to go back to the podium and repeat yourself. Kidding.
No, that's good. Don't worry about it.
Grace, we're good. No, that won't help. All right. Anybody else in? Mark, you're waiting patiently by the microphone.
Not really. Yes. My wife and I celebrated our 35th wedding anniversary on Saturday.
Yay.
Thank you. I wasn't home to do it because I was doing these things. And one of the
Not with us on Saturday.
No, not with you on Saturday. One of the things that I've learned is that when for a happy marriage is that when your wife, I told her you don't have to nag me every 6 months to do a 10-minute job, first of all. But she did say that if I came home tonight without asking about the Route 5825-105 problem, that I could just sleep in the car. I brought it up at the first meeting, and I'm going to bring it up again because I don't see it anywhere. Route 25 is like Main Street, right? Okay, it stops and meets 58, and then it goes to 105 going west, all right? And if we just move a couple of phone poles about 6 feet this way and make that right-hand turn lane, she will be a happy woman.
The east to south right turn lane? The eastbound to southbound right turn lane?
Yes, east, I'm sorry, yeah, east to southbound on 105, yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, we recommended that a long time ago.
Let's recommend it again.
There's was it nursery or something right on that corner?
Yeah,
right?
which is now thank you for
Empty,
bringing
right?
that up. Now it is the farmer's market. It's going to go into 12 months.
Yeah.
And it's very busy on
So
Saturday.
they need property to do it, you know, so the opportunity might be there to get the property.
Yeah,
Not from the farmer's market.
yeah, no. So I don't know if it's a matter of slimming down that center caution lane or, going into the empty,
That's 25 again, right? So
yeah,
that's 20
it's
so
25,
county and state. Yeah, so it would be their project.
yeah. Well, let's make it their project.
Who has priority over that? Is that county or the state?
I think DOT has that intersection.
The higher organization?
Okay, so let's put that back into their,
Yeah.
into their view
Yeah. it's
to
one of
save my
those
marriage for 36 years.
Smart improvements that's,
That's on our list, I just didn't mention that.
I'm gonna use
Okay.
your line, by the way.
What's that?
About nagging me
It's a good line, right?
every
Thank you.
6 months.
Barbara?
Okay, so I wasn't going to say anything, but now I have to. I heard you say that you were going to be looking into HK Ventures. And I'm just hoping, Jefferson, that you are providing additional information about all of the other projects that are in that vicinity, those being proposed and those that are built, such as Island Water Park, who talked about having 900,000 visitors a year, and that's right down the street from the Tractor Supply. We have a 135-acre industrial subdivision right next to Splish Splash, which is another destination. We have another industrial proposal on Manor Road. That whole area, in addition, of course, to what's happening on Edwards Avenue with the solar farms and the construction activity for S-Power 2, which is going to be significant, as well as NextEra, it's all in that area that there's going to be a tremendous convergence of issues and traffic.
And that is the piece.
It's huge.
That is
It's
the
huge.
segment of 25 that VHB's analysis for Calverton said that
Yes.
needed to be widened before phase one of EPCAL.
Correct.
I mean, that's a state highway, and that's a $30 million widening, right? So that's something that needs, that's something that the town is gonna have to start to put pressure on the state to do.
Well, I think if we cumulatively look at the numbers, we can't wait for phase one of EPCAL, whenever that, will present itself. I mean, we have a lot of,
No, and that's what we said during the presentation, that an implementation plan for that mitigation has to be put together. And that implementation, I mean, EPCAL, VHB looked at the future development, they didn't look at EPCAL in a vacuum. They had a bunch of other developments that they included the traffic, and that was the conclusion that they came to based on all of that comprehensive view.
yes, but back in 2003, or back in when VHB was doing the analysis at the 2016
Yeah,
supplemental.
2018, I think is the date on their study, am I right?
No, 2016.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right.
They did not look at these projects that are here now. Yes, they analyzed the full build-out of EPCAL, but we've got a lot of other things going on. But the two questions that I really wanted to ask about, when you talk about the sewer system, are you doing any kind of analysis of available capacity that's going to be left in the sewer district or anything like that, so we have an understanding of what kind of development it can sustain?
I think the town sewer district has that information.
Yeah, they do it.
Well, okay, so, but this is the
It'll be
part of.
reported on, yeah.
It'll be discussed. Okay, that's good, because I am curious about the statement that says, in the long-term town sewer district, treat all wastewater in Riverhead. Does that mean via the sewer district?
That is the goal, that is the general golden rule is that, there should be no septic. Every drop of sanitary waste should be treated before it gets recharged into the ground or into the base. That's the general.
Comes down to
Right.
cost.
Right, but,
It's
sure,
an
I understand
aspirational
that
goal. It's
between.
an aspirational goal, there are no plans in place to do it.
Between on-site systems and everyone. Correct, if that's what you meant, but it's under the long-term goals of the town sewer district itself, and I thought we
Yeah,
were implying
I could see
the
that.
sewer district would be looking to extend throughout the town. Okay, and I just wanted a clarification on that. And the other thing is the improving the water main supply to the North Fork under the Suffolk County Water Authority, with water mains going 105 Hubbard Avenue, Peconic Bay Boulevard into Southold Town. That's not really a planning, you're not planning water.
I'm not.
That's the Suffolk County Water Authority, but I'm wondering why, is it because it's going through town roads that you're putting it in here?
It's in there because it's an improvement by Suffolk County Water that's running through the town of Riverhead. So that's why it's in there. It's their project.
Right. But it's not serving Riverhead.
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to understand that. And I'm hoping that we get easement money if they're running their pipes all through the eastern end of our town. Supervisor, I'm hoping that happens.
Oh, we're working very hard on it, and we're gonna give you an update soon. But this week, we've been in touch so far with Zeldin's office, with Schumer's office, with Gillibrand, and they are personally handling our application, so we should have some.
I was addressing the North Fork expansion of the Suffolk County Water Authority through to Southold Town.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about Matterville. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
We were coming in and out, so.
I apologize. Okay.
Okay.
But
No,
it would be
don't
great to.
apologize. It's, so,
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
But I
Barbara.
do have some other questions that I'll put through the website. Thank you very much.
We do have Councilman Tim Hubbard raise his hand.
Hi, Tim, how are you this evening?
hi, Tim.
Good, everybody, how are you?
Good, thanks for being on.
No problem. A couple things I want to touch base on. Number one, going back to what Grace Swift was talking about, the traffic on Route 58. Something we have to understand and realize is that a lot of time our traffic lights are changed due to the response of an emergency vehicle coming down Route 58. Riverhead Volunteer Ambulance alone handles over 4,200 calls a year. Now factor that in with how many calls have to come down 58 from Calverton, Baiting Hollow, west on Riverhead, Aquabog, Jamesport, South Jamesport coming east on Route 58, on Main Road and then to Route 58. Factor in that Wading River also uses it and has the same function with the ability to change the lights as they're coming down Route 58 as an emergency response. They can hit a button in their vehicles and they can change the lights all to go to green or all to go to red to allow them the easiest access to get to the hospital. Mattatuck, Southold, Cutchogue, ambulance coming from the east, same thing. So often you'll be up on Route 58 and you'll be stuck at a light and you're saying to yourself, these lights aren't working. And a lot of times it's coming from the side roads, like out of Target or out of one of the shopping centers, and you're just sitting there what seems like forever. And I know the police department has handled many, many calls of people coming in saying, hey, the light's not working. I've sat here through 1, 2, 3 cycles and it's not working. The lights are working. They're just programmed in that manner for somebody who needs emergency care to get to the hospital as quickly as they can. So on what Grace was saying, would sometimes you just sit on Route 58, I've noticed the only times I sit on 58 is when that happens or when there's construction going on in a particular area and they shut down one lane. So 2 lanes are going down to one lane. I will also say that for the most part, Route 58 moves fairly well. I know we talked earlier today about people that have timed themselves from Aquabog all the way up to Walmart, and the time frame may be as long as 9 minutes, but you're never sitting in deadlock traffic unless you're at a red light. So traffic, as much as people complain about how bad it is on Route 58, traffic generally moves. It doesn't generally stand still like you're sitting on the BQE or the Cross Island Parkway. It's almost never like that unless you have, like I say, an emergency situation where you've got emergency personnel coming through the lights. So we have to realize that yes, maybe it's not the way it was 25 years ago, but what really is when you think back? We've got many more people out here, many more cars on the road. So I personally think Route 58 works fairly well in terms of moving the flow of traffic. Anytime, anywhere, traffic can be held up, and for various reasons. But when there aren't those various reasons involved, traffic flows fairly well. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation Grace was mentioning. Most people don't know that the ambulance and emergency personnel have the availability to change the lights as they're going down. And as a matter of fact, the town of Riverhead right now is working on Route 25 and Route 105, which is a large intersection, a dangerous intersection, but it currently doesn't have the disabling mode put into it for emergency services, but we're looking to add that and work that out so that can be there. That's just my 2 cents for tonight. I just wanted to add it in so people have a better understanding of what goes on Route 58. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Tim. Anybody else out in the virtual land with hands up? Okay, last round of calls. Anybody from the audience? Not seeing anybody? All right.
Wait, one thing, real quick.
What's that?
Jeff, real quick.
What was she saying? Real quick. Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Can you just get me the contact, telephone numbers of the participants, the moderators that are with you today, so I can contact them on a
Yep,
couple
I'm
of
looking at
questions
Steve.
I
He
have?
can scan and email those to me, and I'll email those to you.
Thank you very much, and everyone, thank you for coming out today. I think this was very informative. Transportation is so critical. It's across our nation. It's not new to Riverhead. I could tell you, I'm sure the people from the Transportation Committee could tell you that. It's endemic across the whole world. And so I think it was very informative. Everybody did a good job, and thank you.
All right, and just a reminder for everybody who's watching live and attending this evening, we'll be back here at the same time tomorrow night. The subject is going to be farmland preservation. That was ranked as the #1 priority in the community survey. So look forward to seeing all of you tomorrow night.
Have a good night.